It may or definitely will not surprise you to hear I've been very happily grilling on this weirdo little grill setup for about 2 years at this point, voluntarily, not just because it looks so dang cool, but because this exact little setup where you take one of these caca little Coleman grills and you cut the bottom out of it and you put it on top of one of these scorching hot charcoal chimneys is literally the only thing you need to get a perfect, beautiful, crispy sear on the outside of a beautifully medium rare steak. As my wife might say, in spite of its looks, I really do love this thing, and I would totally continue grilling on it were it not for the simple fact that I am a dad now. And it keeps me up at night thinking, man, what happens if someone accidentally leaves the back door open and my beautiful, precious little baby son comes crawling out, expecting to catch me doing something respectable outside, and he looks over and he sees me squatted down next to a tree, poking at this thing with my tongs. He may literally never forget that image of me. I can't risk it for the brisket. So I'm gonna take all of the principles that make my weirdo little grill setup so awesome, and I'm gonna combine them into actually really very nice homemade grill and smoker that honestly I think a baby could respect. Here you go. Hope you guys like it. Alrighty, step number 1. You know that giant stack of steel brackets in your garage? Go ahead and grab about 6 of those. Now we're gonna clean the rust off of them about as good as we can. There's really no way we're gonna get them perfect. They're a little far gone for that, and I'm painting the outside anyways. The inside of these things doesn't make contact with any food, so we're just gonna kind of try to knock off the big pieces. So here is the basic design, very, very simple. I'm hoping right here is gonna be the coal chute, or not really a coal chute, it's gonna be a drawer that you can pull out all the way, add more coal into, put it back in. I'm purposely avoiding the coal chute design actually. I want to be able to add more coal partway through the cooking without kicking up a bunch of dust and, you know, ruining whatever it is you're cooking. So a little drawer right here, and then this, I'm kind of stuck on this idea of like having a mailbox opening just because I think it's funny for my dream grill to look like a mailbox. Anyways, now that I know the basic shape, I can get some measurements. I know that this opening here is almost perfectly 7 inches by 8 inches, which means the chunk I need to cut out of the inside is that same size. I can then use that plate that I cut out from here as the door for the coal chute, and then I'll use this other plate as the back here and the door for the front. Just kidding, I'm legally obligated to make both doors out of tread plate. Let's get to work. I'm gonna make my life real easy and just cut all of my stencils out of this grid paper. Alrighty, I got the coal drawer cut out. I got the bottom cut out of this one. I'm actually gonna be able to use this cutout piece to fill in the back of the, I don't know what you call this part, the oven. It's all looking really nice. If I'm not mistaken, I think I can start tacking stuff together. Oh, that was close. I still gotta cut some ventilation holes, which will actually create legs and give it a cool little wood stove look. This should be pretty simple. I got the drawer figured out, but I've been thinking for probably hours about how I'm gonna attach this door. It's a little more complicated than you might think. What I finally decided on is these weld hinges, and there's 100 different ways you can attach a hinge to a plate. The very specific way that I've decided on, I'll show you where it's going in a second. Now this is really nice. I'm really glad I was able to figure out a good way to put this hinge on. When you stick it on like so, you won't have to create some extra little doohickey to keep the door from swinging down and banging into the chimney and getting your steak all dusty, because the range of motion of the hinge actually stops the door exactly where I wanted it to stop, so it's pretty nice. Now here's a little something I was debating even leaving in here. It's kind of something that I classify as not quite a fail, but not quite a great idea either. I cut out these flanges, and these were going to be a way to keep the door shut. Basically, they would just act like counterweights, and when you got the door close to shut, the weight of them would pull the door shut, and it would hold it closed. And it worked just fine. It was just directly after that I realized I would not be able to add rails for an upper rack. I would just have a single rack all the way down at the bottom of the grill. And the upper rack was more important to me than my precious flanges, so off they came. Very sad. Those rails, by the way, are just a few little pieces of angle iron, and the grates, of course, are some expanded steel. I don't know what happened to my extras, so I don't really have a free piece to demonstrate, but expanded steel bends really easy in one direction, in the short direction of the diamonds, and then it's pretty rigid in the other direction, the long way of the diamonds. So you just tack on some pieces of steel into the weak direction, does the body good, works just fine. So onto the stovepipe. It definitely would have been better with a slightly bigger diameter pipe, but that was the biggest one I had. It was like 2 inches. It works fine, it's not bad. I cut it at a 45 on one end and then straight across on the other end, and then on the flat end I welded on this little 3/8 nut. This is what I attached the damper to. The damper is basically just a little piece of steel that functions almost like a valve. You use it to adjust the airflow, so more or less air is getting pulled through the coals, as well as when you're smoking stuff, you can just shut it all the way and trap all the smoke in there. This is pretty cool. I spring-loaded the bolt that holds the damper on, so it's just constant pressure. You don't have to worry about loosening or tightening the bolt to make it so the damper can slide freely but stay in place wherever you need it. Works real nice. It's the little things. So I welded the stovepipe on at a 45-degree angle pointing backwards, because there's just so much stuff like opening towards the front. I wanted a little counterweight just because I wasn't totally sure if I had everything opened up and pulled to the front if it would actually tip. So just to be safe, I just wanted a little something pulling it back. I think it looks kind of cool too. It looks like a little robot with a slick back antenna. It's kind of cute. So with that stuck on, it was finally time to put the head on the body. I really do think that this is the most I've welded for a single project. I'm definitely no pro, but holy moly, if you saw what my welds looked like in the beginning when I first got the welder, it was just like a string of boogers between 2 steel plates, and you could just like snap the plates apart. This thing is not coming apart, I'll tell you that. Now here's where I paint it, and for whatever gosh forsaken reason, the camera stops recording literally as soon as I'm shaking up the can to paint it. Now don't buy any of this stuff until they sponsor me, okay? But here's the stuff that I use. This Rust-Oleum high heat tough protective enamel. It says resists up to 1200 degrees. I did see one that was like 2000 degrees and it was like $5 more. I didn't bother, but you'll see later. I was very, very impressed with this stuff. It's really good. But don't buy it until they sponsor me. Now here's a basket that the charcoal goes into. It like kind of scoops in there. This back plate here is like an inch higher or an inch taller than the hole is tall. So you can pull the drawer all the way out and it stops and it hangs there. And then yeah, just expanded steel in there. The handles are a little piece of flat bar bent into shape and then little coil spring. The handles stay nice and cool even when this gets super hot. And of course, my precious tread plate on the front. So with all that said and done, it was finally time to fire it up. Alrighty, here it is, and here's the plan. I got this nice little pile of oak here. I'm gonna burn it nice and hot. I'm gonna shoot for like over an hour, and that should hopefully burn away any residual little bit of paint that might have got inside there while I was spraying it. Little flecks of like WD-40 that might be inside the oven area. And then once it gets really, really hot, I'm gonna spray some of this olive oil in there. That should season it, give it a nice little protective coating against rust. I'm done talking. I wanna see this thing burn. I am very impressed with this paint. This thing is nice and hot, and I don't smell any kind of fumes or anything like that. It's pretty good stuff. Gives me a lot of confidence knowing I'm not gonna poison my whole family cooking in this thing. Ah, I got it all over the grill. Goofball. You know what, weird idea, but I think a good one. I'm a little afraid of spraying this directly into the grill and having it explode in my face. I'm just gonna spray oil on the wood and hopefully it'll burn up and coat the inside. All right, till I get a handle on this thing, I'm I'm not gonna throw a steak in there and risk destroying it. I'm gonna use something that's okay to destroy. Chicken. Sausage looks good. It's hard to mess up a sausage though. Hey, I mean, as far as chicken goes, that looks pretty good. Holy smokes.